Big Country Politics on KTAB continues.
Well, welcome to this week's Sunday Conversation right here on Big Country Politics. I'm Manny Diaz. This week our special guest is Place 3 Abilene City Council member Blaise Regan. Blaise, thanks for joining us.
Manny, thanks for having me on. I'm excited about this as well.
Well, you've officially wrapped up the first month as a member of the Abilene City Council since being elected back in May. Before we dive into the issues, what's your first month been like?
It's been good. It hasn't been going from 0 to 100. I feel like I was already involved, and through the campaign, you're going at 100 miles an hour every day, all day. So it hasn't been too much of a shock actually getting down to work. To be honest, it's been a little bit of a step down. I can actually take a little time to catch up on work and read, and now they start sending you the packets every Friday before the city council meetings. They send you the packet, and those will range from 250 to 900 pages or so, and so you read those typically over the weekend, and then questions, concerns, whatever we want to input to the city and Robert Hanna, we do that typically on Monday or Tuesday. It's been interesting to see, there's one or two people that will almost at every meeting they get up and complain that there's too much to read in the packet, in the private citizens. And it's ironic because, we're all about government transparency and we want to know what's happening behind the scenes, and you're not giving us the documents. But then, we can't complain when we get the documents. And so we get the full packets and they're open to the general public. Everyone can read them. Sometimes it's 250, sometimes it's 900. But I would encourage people to look at it. If you have a specific issue, read up on that. But that's the price we pay for government transparency, is that we get it all. And so I'm encouraged that we get the full packet, that the citizens can view it. And if you want to, go to the website, read the packet, and that way you're more informed. And if you have a specific issue, come to the city council or reach out to a member and voice those concerns.
Well, you're a freshman all over again as you enter year one as an Abilene City Council member. Tell me about some of your goals, whether they're short-term, mid-term, long-term.
Well, and yeah, there's a number of different things, like you said, the short-term, mid-term, and long-term. From the long-term, we just approved the master plan for the parks for the next 10 years. And so that's something that's going to have far-reaching effects, gives us at least a guiding plan of what we should be doing, and then we're going to fill in those steps as we go. But that, I think, was the first or second council meeting that I sat on, was approving the master comprehensive plan for the Parks and Rec. And so that took quite a bit to get up to speed. That was I think 500 or so pages, just the comprehensive plan. And so that was a quick dive right into the deep end. On the short term, just I went to the splash pad with a few of my nieces, and they loved it. They said it was better than anything in Dallas. Now, take a 6-year-old's word, for what it's worth, but they loved it. I went into city council mode and started looking, okay, what can we do better? And we're almost a victim of our success in that splash pad had, 40 or 50 children in it. And we only had 2 benches with shade on it, and so all the parents were packed in under there, and so we were a victim of our own success. And so I'm reaching out to Robert and the parks about doubling that shade capacity. And so those are the little things, that just little tweaks as we go along, that we've got the big plan, but we also want to tweak it along the way.
One thing that sparked my attention about you during the campaign season was how you wanted to make sure that Abilene wasn't a tired old interstate town, a place that somebody just wasn't driving through the interstate. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so we've had, the drive-in theater kind of go through a rough time over the last year and a half or so. There's been a group of very passionate citizens here in Abilene that have reached out and are working on revitalizing that, whether it's, as a private for-profit business or a nonprofit, kind of bringing in people that can lend expertise and passion and energy and know what to do with it. And so I'm very excited about what can happen. Obviously, that's up near the I-20 corridor, which was what I talked about a lot on my campaign, and it's something where I think Abilene could really benefit as a whole, whether it's downtown south, far south Abilene, really benefiting by having a better corridor along the I-20, because that's going to pull people off the highway that are traveling to Midland or New Mexico, and we get those outside dollars. And that's what it's all about, is trying to get those outside dollars, because otherwise it's just you and I circulating our own money around. You know, for small businesses, there's a lot of bumps in the road. We may have big manufacturers coming in like Great Lakes and Abbey Windows, but the small businesses are still the ones that are surviving on a day-to-day basis, and any little extra weight that we're putting on them as a city, as a permit fee, whatever it is, you know, it's on top of all the other work and all the other fees and all the other taxes that they're doing. So we really have to be cognizant as a city council of, oh, it's not just an extra $100 fee, it's $100 on top of the thousands of other dollars that they're having to pay. And so I think with this city council, we're very cognizant of that. It's a great city council. We've got members that are not shy about digging a little deeper into, hey, what's this going to affect us in 5 years? How's this going to affect this business? So I think we've got a well-rounded city council that's not afraid to ask questions, do a little pushback, but also to give guidance to the city. People forget that that's also the role of city council, is to give guidance. Hey, where do we want to be? Staff, the city staff's job is to manage the city, but also respond to us as the representatives. And so I think we've got a great city council to do that. No one's there with an axe to grind. We're all on the same kind of page of how do we make Abilene better, and so I'm excited.
We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break, but when we come back, more with Place 3 Abilene City Council member Blaise Regan and the hot topic that is the Sanctuary City for the Unborn Ordinance. More right here on Big Country Politics.
Big Country Politics on KTAB continues.
Welcome back to Big Country Politics. This is our Sunday conversation. I'm Manny Diaz. This week our special guest is Place 3 Abilene City Council member Blaise Regan. Blaise, I tell you, one of the hottest topics of conversation has been talk of the Sanctuary City for the Unborn Ordinance that was voted on and passed last November. As a city council candidate, you had to have been thinking about this. How did you think that this was going to play out, certainly when it came to the enforcement of the ordinance?
Yeah, it's definitely a very passionate issue, and rightfully so. You know, I'm very pro-life. I was raised in a big family of 12, and so I'm very pro-life, and I'm an attorney as well, and so I kind of get the best of both worlds in that I can look at this issue as a pro-life attorney and go, all right, what does the law actually say, and then what do we really need it to say in order for it to survive and protect children, but also protect the mother as well. And so, you know, the citizens voted on the referendum a few years, or last year, and approved it. I was a little surprised that it only passed by 53%. I think Abilene is a much more pro-life city than 53%. If I had to guess, I would say 85%. And so I was surprised to see that number was so low at 53 that it passed. And I think that's because a number of people who are very pro-life had a chance to read the ordinance and go, wait, this has some issues. And so I think that the 53% doesn't reflect how pro-life Abilene is. And I think that was a sign that, hey, we are pro-life, the voters have approved this, but just like we can update or tweak the Texas Constitution, every time basically we go to the poll, there's a new proposed amendment to the Texas Constitution. We can change ordinances in Abilene from 50 years ago to now to update them. And I think that's what we intend to do here, is through the subcommittee. I think a lot of people, and we had the intake from the public at large at the meeting for the city council. And a lot of people spoke about, well, the spirit of the law is what's important. And I agree, that is important. But you also have to look at the letter of the law, because that's what will be enforced. If there is a new DA in 5, 10, 20 years that is of a different mindset or wants to weaponize this ordinance against someone who's very pro-life, against a Scott Beard or a Jonathan Mitchell or whoever they're pro-life, this ordinance can be weaponized by that district attorney down the road and used against a pro-life. And that's not the intent, that's not the spirit. I think we're doing it in the right way, and that we're bringing in members of the community from different persuasions, different backgrounds, viewpoints on this, so that we get a well-rounded opinion on all these issues. And we go in and we, look at, okay, this you know, this group is concerned about this point, this group is concerned about this point over here, let's take a look and see if they need to be tweaked or not, where we still maintain the spirit and the intent of not allowing abortions here in Abilene, but that we're also not inadvertently causing, you know, people with lupus that are 70 not getting their medications. And so that's the intent.
On my conversation last week with Scott Beard, pastor of Fountain Gate Fellowship Church right here in Abilene, he suggested that the city council meet with the author of the ordinance when it comes to establishing a subcommittee to discuss amending the ordinance. Is that something the city council would be open to?
I'm not opposed to it. I believe the attorney is Jonathan Mitchell. I think you also have to be aware that he is, from my understanding, I don't know him personally, he is involved with a number of different campaigns on, you know, various forums with various cities on these. He's also pledged to, I believe, defend for free attacks on these ordinances across the nation. And so, my understanding is that he doesn't have staff, it's just him. And so I don't know on a practical level how available he would be. I think it's something that was mentioned at that city council meeting and that the mayor took note of and was agreeable to that. I'm not going to say the mayor is going to reach out, but I took note that he was aware of that and seemed agreeable to it. I don't have an issue with it. I just would not want to tell people, oh, he will be involved or we need him, because one, just on a practical level, I don't know if he would be involved, and two, I would prefer, he's already had his voice. You know, this is his ordinance. Now, in my opinion, we need the input from our citizens of how do we make this work for Abilene. And so we've got the blueprint here. And now what I would prefer, and I think would be more beneficial to Abilene and for the ordinance and for our own citizens, is have someone from, like Ryan Goodwin, be on the subcommittee and get the input from those that are very heavily in favor of it. And then we get a little bit of insight from someone who believes it's tweaked because of their experience. And so we get a better well rounded. I think we already have Jonathan Mitchell's opinion on this because it's his document, and obviously it's his document. He's not going to want to change it, but it's not practical to expect him to be involved in this subcommittee when he's already pledged to defend all these other cities and all these other ordinances. So we have to be realistic, and I think the best route is to bring in local citizens. We hash it out what's best for Abilene, and then we move forward there.
Blaise, I appreciate you making time for us today.
Sure, thank you for having me on. It's good to talk about these issues and get a little bit more insight out to the people, so thank you for hosting.
For Place 3 Abilene City Council member Blaise Regan, I'm Manny Diaz. This has been another Sunday Conversation right here on Big Country Politics. We'll see you next week.